He's afraid of blood. He's afraid of sharks. He's afraid of germs. He's afraid of Vladimir Putin. He's afraid of Robert Mueller. This is a man who is deeply, deeply insecure, deeply damaged.
Well, in the fantasy land that is Trump world, the character named Donald Trump, who is played by the man Donald Trump, is a truth-telling superhero, not a pathological liar and the most cowardly president the United States has ever had. No president has ever exhibited the cowardice toward Russia and Vladimir Putin that Donald Trump has. The United States has never had a president so cowardly as to refuse to even comment on the Chinese government moving back toward authoritarianism by eliminating term limits for its president, who is now in a position to become president for life. Every previous president, Democrat and Republican, would have expressed some kind of disappointment in diplomatic language, some kind of objection to China taking this disturbing step back into democracy, but not Donald Trump. All he has ever been able to say about the president of China is, "I like him," nothing else. As if nothing else matters. And so today, the most abjectly cowardly man who has ever occupied the presidency of the United States said something that no previous president, including the presidents who were shot at in combat, would have said.
You know, I really believe, you don't know until you test it, but I think I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon. And I think most of the people in this room would have done that too, because I know most of you.
Donald Trump, who, like most of us, has never run toward the sound of gunfire in his life, says he would have done that in Parkland, Florida, at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
But I'm not good for medical. You know, in other words, like if you cut your finger and there's blood pouring out,
yes,
you're gone.
I'm gone.
Right. Good idea, by the way.
I'll tell you what. I was at Mar-a-Lago and we had this incredible ball, the Red Cross ball,
right,
in Florida, in Palm Beach, Florida. So you have all these really rich people. And a man, about 80 years old, very wealthy man, a lot of people didn't like him, he fell off the stage.
Wow.
So what happens is this guy falls off right on his face, hits his head, and I thought he died. And you know what I did? I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and I turned away. You know, he was right in front of me. I turned away. I didn't want to touch her. She's bleeding all over the place. I felt terribly. You know, beautiful marble floor. It looked so good. It changed color. It became very red. And you have this poor guy, 80 years old, laying on the floor, unconscious. And all of the rich people are turning away. "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is disgusting." And you know what I did? I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and I turned away. And you know, they're turning away. Nobody wants to help the guy. His wife is screaming. She's sitting right next to him. She's screaming. And you know what I did? I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and I turned away. I forgot to call to say, "Is he okay?" He was okay.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. So, you know, when
you're afraid of catching a disease through the phone.
It's not even a disease. I just don't like looking at blood. I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon. And you know what I did? I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting," and I turned away.
Getting back to dating, right? And when you got to say to a woman, "Hey, listen, you got to go to my personal doctor, and I'm going to have you checked out." Is that a tough thing to say to a woman, or you just got the balls to say it?
You know, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I can't even believe it. I've been so lucky,
right,
in terms of that whole world.
Because you've never gotten a social disease.
It is a dangerous world out there. It's scary. It's like Vietnam, sort of like, you know, the Vietnam era.
It is your personal Vietnam, isn't it?
It is my personal
It is. You've said that many
I feel
times.
like a great and very brave soldier.
A lot of guys who went through Vietnam came out unscathed. A lot of guys who've gone through the 80s having sex with different women came out with AIDS and all kinds of things.
In that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, you know, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and
I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon.
Could you once and for all, definitively, sir, yes or no, say whether or not you believe that President Putin and or Russia interfered in the election?
What I said there, I'm surprised that there's any conflict on this. What I said there is that I believe he believes that, and that's very important for somebody to believe. I believe that he feels that he and Russia did not meddle in the election. I believe that President Putin really feels, and he feels strongly, that he did not meddle in our election. What he believes is what he believes. And I feel that having Russia in a friendly posture as opposed to always fighting with them is an asset to the world and an asset to our country, not a liability.
The president is pointing the finger of blame at just about everyone except Vladimir Putin in Moscow after special counsel Robert Mueller indicted 13 Russian officials and 3 businesses last week. The Kremlin this morning is calling the allegations unfair and baseless. And now a number of the president's critics are accusing Mr. Trump of failing to stand up to Russia.
Does the president now acknowledge what the special counsel indictments made clear, which is that Russians not only tried to meddle but interfere and influence the 2016 election?
Absolutely, and the president has acknowledged that multiple times before.
She doesn't know if it's the Russians doing the hacking. Maybe there is no hacking. Could be Russia, but it could also be China. Most importantly, because we're hacked by everybody. The whole Russian thing, that's a ruse. That's a ruse. Could have been China, could have been a lot of different groups. The Russia story is a total fabrication. I call it the Russian hoax. No, Russia did not help me. That I can tell you, okay? It's a Democrat hoax that was brought up as an excuse for losing an election.
Absolutely, and the president has acknowledged that multiple times before.
Here he is on a rainy day this year, protecting his hair, as his hair climbs the stairs of Air Force One. At first, he seems to be alone in the rain. But then, his 11-year-old son appears behind him, the son he left behind in the rain because protecting his hair is more important than protecting his son. He also left his third and current wife behind him in the rain. She's used to that. She handled it the way she always does, as if she and Donald Trump are just two strangers boarding the same airplane.
President Trump claimed President Obama and other predecessors did not call families of men and women in the military who died in the line of duty. The head coach responded, calling the nation and said, quote, "This man in the Oval Office is a soulless coward who thinks that he can only become large by belittling others." This has, of course, been a common practice of his, but to do it in this manner and to lie about how previous presidents responded to the death of soldiers is as low as it gets. Popovich has long been a critic of the president. The head coach is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and served 5 years while touring with the U.S. Armed Forces basketball team.
Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
It is always about Donald Trump. Even the death of 17 people, including a number of children, is always about Donald Trump. The truth be told, of course, he's a 5-time deferred wannabe. He has to equate going to boarding school or avoiding sexually transmitted diseases to his own Vietnam. He's afraid of blood. He's afraid of sharks. He's afraid of germs. He's afraid of Vladimir Putin. He's afraid of Robert Mueller. This is a man who is deeply, deeply insecure, deeply damaged. And so I think he makes up for it with this ridiculous, pompous boasting that really no one, probably even he does at some point, believes it. But it is galling, and it is particularly galling because in the job he is elected to do, we don't ask that he run into buildings. We simply ask that he be true to the United States, that he stand up for America, that he stand up to our enemies, that he take a stand when a foreign power, for example, meddles in our election. And even that he cannot do. So regardless of whether he thinks he could run into a building or he doesn't think he could run into a building, the man is a coward. He will always be a coward. He was in his personal life, and he has been as president. And as far as he tries to spin his way out of that, that's a reality I think that most Americans in their hearts know.
There were a host of unanswered questions about the allegations that the Russian government deployed hackers to disrupt our electoral process and help Donald Trump win the White House. The president-elect responded to all this in an exclusive interview on Fox News Sunday.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's just another excuse. I don't believe it. I don't know why.
I don't know Putin. I have no idea. I never met Putin.
Do you have a relationship with Vladimir Putin, a conversational relationship, or anything that you feel you have sway or influence over his government?
I do have a relationship. I never met Putin. I don't know who Putin is. What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him.
You did say on 3 different occasions you had a relationship with him. Now you say there is none.
Putin even sent me a present, beautiful present, with a beautiful note. I spoke to all of his people.
I have no relationship with Putin. I don't think I've ever met him. I never met him. I don't think I've ever met him. You would know it if you did, wouldn't you? I think so, yeah, I think so. So I don't think I've ever met him. I mean, if he's in the same room or something, but I don't think so.
One of the great memories of all time.
Never spoken to him on the phone? I've been in Moscow. I didn't meet him in Moscow. Where? Never spoken to him on the phone? I have never spoken to him on the phone. No.
I was in Russia. I was in Moscow recently. And I spoke indirectly and directly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer.
You said for 3 years, 13, 14, and 15, that you did have a relationship with him.
No, look, what do you call a relationship? I mean, he treats me with great respect.
I do have a relationship. What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. Putin wants to go in, and I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates, and we did very well that night. I was going to fire regardless of recommendation.
So there was
but regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey, knowing there was no good time to do it. And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.